That's great. So tools to go. Today we're looking at his story. And we're looking at this idea of spreading the seed around, this good news. That is what the seed represents. Sometimes we might think that we throw it widely. Sometimes it might just be individually. But I was thinking, first of all, what is the seed? What do we mean when we talk about the good news? What are we talking about when in Matthew it talks about the kingdom of heaven? These big words, and maybe sometimes, if we're honest, they're said a lot in churches and it's lovely. We have Bibles named after good news. But actually knowing what it means to share it can be a big step. Good news, I believe, is our story in relation to the story of Jesus. Jesus' story, the truth we believe, also includes our story now. Some people call it a testimony, but then we get scared of that word. So that's why I like to say our story. Jim talked about this 15 seconds testimony. The idea is that in 15 seconds you can share your story. It goes almost in 3 parts, which is, I was like this, then Jesus did this, and now I am this. For me personally, I know that I was always curious and felt like there was something about God that was knowable, but I just didn't know how to find it. And then I experienced Jesus for myself and realized that it's not just about getting answers, but it was about starting the most amazing journey I've ever had. And now, I do believe that I am free. I believe I'm free from what the world tells me, when people might label me, because I know I am in God. So it's really important for us to think, how do we share the good news, which is our story with Jesus? I've got 2 little boys, and at the moment they're obsessed with the garden. Well, I say that. My youngest just likes to eat the herbs and chew on them. And when I pick him up, he sometimes just smells like pizza. He quite likes oregano and basil, which isn't too bad compared to what else he smells of. But Stanley, he loves gardening. He loves the whole process of getting the dirt in the little pot, and then you put your finger in, and then you put one seed in carefully, then you cover it over, water it, and then instantly ask your parents for the next 2 weeks, when is it going to grow? You see, that is a legitimate way of how we can plant seeds. That is a very good way, and anyone who's been shamed by Monty on Gardener's World will know that planting can be really difficult, and it is a skill. But what strikes me with the story we've heard today is the generosity of how the seed is just thrown out. In the parable as well, have you noticed? I didn't notice till yesterday when somebody pointed it out to me, that there's a real urgency to this story. There's no time frame. It doesn't say we plant a seed and then days later it started sprouting. It talks about some of them get thrown down. I'm going to go again. More sweets for everyone. By the way, I do love sweets. And I thought, well, why not? The generosity is you throw the seeds out, wincing. They're rock hard. I love it. But some of the seeds instantly start to grow. But then they get choked. You throw the seeds out again. And they get eaten up by birds. You throw it out again, and they get caught up. Get your umbrellas out. I'll go low. And there's ones that get choked by weeds. The fact is, we do not always know which way the seed is going to go. You see, when I think about this parable, I always think about me in the story as the ground. Where is my heart at? We talk about this language that uses our imagination a lot. Which ground am I? And I'll be honest, it is a good question to ask. And that's why I love going to things like Focus, where we'll be going next week. This is a space for us to be together, to chat these things out, worship together, and refocus on God. But I do think we also have to think of ourselves as the sower. We have the good news to share with people. I've got so many because I'm generous. Hey! And, sorry, Kath, I was aiming for you. Because if you remember, Jesus also says to his disciples at the beginning of his ministry, the harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few. But I believe now we've got the workers and we're ready. We're ready to go out and share that good news, to openly share our story with other people. So you may be aware that we do something called a leadership development year. And I just wanted to show you this video which tells you of what they've experienced during this year. So if we could just have it played, John, that'd be fab.
One of the main areas is leadership. I've been leading the team with Lovely Neighbour and also leading 9-15 as well, which is something I never thought I'd do.
By using the skills that I learned from doing my degree and putting them into practice by leading events.
Yeah, it's been a sick year and I've grown in my ability to learn humility, be humble, to understand that I need to be able to serve people first instead of wanting to be served.
I felt like I've really grown closer to God, and that I've also developed a lot of confidence working with people in church and in the workplace and elsewhere.
Just being able to grow in my skills and helping the community, also learning more about God and learning more about my faith and growing in that relationship I have with God.
Sit, peace out.
Sick. That could be you too. That is an example of the ongoing discipleship that's been going on since Jesus. People stepping out, wanting to develop in their leadership, in their communications, in sharing their story of Jesus with other people. So what is your story? What were you like before knowing Jesus? What were you like having met Jesus, and what is the outcome? Why do we even follow Jesus? Is one that I've been wrestling with into how you break it down, and the simple way that I've come up with it is that we follow Jesus. I follow Jesus because he's the best way I've lived my life. Because Jesus defeated death, which means that we no longer just have life, then death, but we have this new creation that we all get to live in now. Jesus did do this because he is God. That's how Jesus did it, because he is God. But why he did it is because he loves each and every one of us. He loves me. He loves all of you. He loves you who aren't sure where you are with Jesus. He loves you who maybe doesn't even believe in God. But he still loves you. I love that Jesus has a sense of humor. And I love the last line where he says, "Those who have ears, listen." Because when you look at wheat and it grows up, we call them ears on there. I don't know why. I probably should do. But I don't know why they call them ears. But for me, it reminds me that there are people who are constantly growing, who are constantly curious, who want to know, why do we do what we do as followers of Jesus? And sometimes you might be surprised at how simple an answer they'll be happy with. We need to listen to what people are saying too, and be aware that people are curious. People want to know more. And if you're not like me, who will happily chat until I dig myself in the biggest hole ever, trying to defend God, pretend I know all the answers, you can turn to the Bible and see that some of the disciples simply said, "Come and see." They come with the questions, asking about Jesus. Is he this? Is he that? Can he do this? Can he do that? And their answer is just, "Come and see." And that's what we're going to be doing as a church. as we leave this place today and as we head towards September, where we're going to be doing our massive Alpha launch. And I think this is a great opportunity for us to be aware of both ways of planting seeds. On your chairs, you'll find there's a card with 3 boxes. I just invite you to get a card, get a pen. You might have to share one. And for me, this is like when you plant a seed in a flower pot. This is like when you buy one of those pre-potted basil plants and you think this is the one that's going to live. That was a very niche joke, I'm sorry. But these are the 3 where you're going to plant it carefully, with Saint Monty whispering in your ear how to look after it, how to keep it well watered, not too watered and not too much sunlight. These are the 3 people where you think, if you're honest, there is no way they're going to come and meet Jesus. They're the 3 people for you to write down on that card. So I invite you to write that down now. For some of you, it might be a friend at school. It might be one of those people that you find quite difficult to be around. But we remember that Jesus is generous. He loves them and wants to know them just as much as everybody else. I just invite you to keep that in your pocket. Every time you touch in your pocket, pray for those 3 people. And then we remember that we are still called to be those people who go out sharing generously the story of the good news. Your opportunity to share that good news with people. So let's stand together and pray.